ba-da-dum, boom, boom, 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 ba-da-dum. They snuck into the kitchen when no one was looking.
Look out, Mama, it's Danger Man cooking.
Oh, now. Welcome to Danger Men Cooking, and again, good to see you. My name is Gary Schmidt.
And my name is Stephen Schlissel. Today on Danger Men Cooking, we're going to be visiting a sustainable organic farm right here in Shaftesbury, Brook Farm. And then Gary is going to be cooking with some of their produce.
Yes, we have this wonderful produce that we have procured from them, and I will be working with a guest chef today. But before we get started, Stephen, I do have to ask you, what's with the bow ties today?
Does this bow tie make me look fat?
No, I think it makes you look very sexy.
Oh.
I know we've been told that we need a little more sex appeal here, but is it doing the trick? I'm not sure.
Well, the boss has said we need to up our game, and as we go up, we're going to ask Commander Ed to take us out of GNAT orbit, set a course to Shaftesbury to Clearbrook Farm, and all ahead, Warp Factor 2. Woo, 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 woo.
Okay, let's go.
Welcome to Danger Men Cooking.
Here we are in Clearbrook Farm in Shaftesbury, and I am with Matt, who is the farm manager. And we're in this wonderful store that they are offering to the public. And the produce here is phenomenal. And Matt, maybe you can tell us something about the history of the store here. How long have you been here and so forth?
Sure. We've been here 19 years, I think, now. And we started out restoring this barn and growing about an acre of produce our first year. That was in '95, I think. And one greenhouse. We now, over the years, have expanded our production. Again, we are not just an organic vegetable farm, but we also do bedding plants and annuals, perennials, herbs, and all that in the spring. So we've had to expand our greenhouse space much to accommodate that, although we are doing more greenhouse production now for produce. And now we have 10 greenhouses.
Whoa.
And we're farming about 50 acres of land, both on this home farm and a farm that we recently purchased through a land trust help up the road.
Right. And you've been here the whole time from the outset?
Yep.
Pretty much?
Andrew Knaufel, the owner of the farm, and I started again in '95. We were old college friends.
Oh, really?
And had not seen each other for a number of years.
Yeah.
And hooked back up. And
Oh, great, great.
that's how that happened.
Well, you grow the majority of the things here, and everything that's listed here as organic.
Well, again, something that's listed as our own
As
organic.
our own organic, yes.
And then there's also organic things that we bring in,
That you bring
and there's
in.
also conventional produce that we bring in. Not everybody wants to, or is that concerned about
Right.
organic or not.
Sure.
So we
Right.
try to offer a little bit of both.
Right.
Again, as far as what is ours, when we start, we open normally about the first week of June in here, and that early, a lot of the things aren't ours.
Right, right.
You know, we'll have our greens and maybe some squash that early, asparagus, things like that. Everything else has to be sourced and brought in. As we get into August here, more and more of what we sell here is our own.
Right. Well, for sure, everything that you have here is beautiful. If you take a look at these turnips and the celery and the radishes,
Yeah,
I mean, everything is just marvelous.
Everything in this case is grown here on the farm.
And then you also bring in things like bread.
Yes, we
From
try to have
local sources?
a fresh bread at least 5 days a week from different sources on a given day. So one day it's Red Hen bread from up north.
Right.
Another day it's Earth Sky Thyme in Manchester,
Right.
or the Crinan Bakery
Right.
in
Right.
Bennington. We also carry all sorts of local cheeses, pretty much,
Cheeses
and other
dairy
dairy
products.
We're carrying 2 different types of local yogurts, Skyr, lots of different cheeses, Alducci's fresh mozzarella, of course,
and some smoked meats.
Vermont
and so forth.
Vermont sausages and all that.
Right.
We try to do a little bit of it all.
Right.
Another big pull this time of year are the peaches that start coming in from Georgia.
Right.
Now we're starting to get them from Pennsylvania and pretty soon New York.
Yeah, right.
That's something that
Right.
people come for.
Right. And so, as you said before, this is kind of a one-stop shop for a lot of people. You have many things: olive oil, olives, maple syrup, honey, all sorts of things.
We try, there's a lot of customers of ours I know do not go to the grocery store while
Right.
we're open, and that's really gratifying for us that we're providing them everything they need without having to send their dollars
Right.
out of town. So.
And how's the knowledge of your location with the general public? Is it pretty good, do you say?
After 19 years, we have a good following. I think that if there's people who don't know about us, they're not interested in
Right.
in coming to a place like this.
Right.
Word of mouth has been a really good thing for us
Yeah.
over the years, and we're doing less and less actual advertising because we're finding it's not necessary.
Yeah. And I heard that you do some service to CSAs and
Yep.
also for food programs in Bennington.
In addition to what we offer here 7 days a week, we also do 2 farmers markets. We do a Manchester market on Thursdays and a Londonderry market on Saturdays. We are also doing a traditional type CSA for a small group of 40 or 50 shares at the hospital in Bennington.
Oh.
They're wanting to get more healthy food into the
Right.
hospital system. Actually, they use some
That's
of the
good.
produce into the food service
Yeah.
there. In addition to that, we do a senior share program, which is funded through NOFA Vermont, and that may be federal money, USDA money ultimately, but we're paid $5 a week per share to provide a small amount of vegetables to low-income senior housing in Bennington.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
And that ends
great.
up being about 120 shares a week of
Oh, great.
that get distributed between the various senior housing projects in Bennington. We do a lot of work with the food shelves and gleaning. We've worked with Meals on Wheels to the various pantries, food pantries in Bennington, Manchester.
Yeah.
There are a number of dedicated people who volunteer their time to come and get the things that we can give away.
Right, right.
And then there's also some people who will come and do actual gleaning and harvesting
Right.
things out of the field that
Yeah.
that we're not going to use.
Yeah, well, that's great. So, so today is the beginning of August, and what can you expect for the upcoming months through November in terms of produce?
Well, in a perfect year, we would be now moving into a pretty good melon crop, cantaloupes, watermelon, and that is happening.
Yeah.
Our sweet corn is getting that good midsummer size. This year has been a struggle, and a lot of the sweet corn has been on the small side.
Right.
We've just harvested our garlic over the last few weeks, and so that'll be coming out and curing. Won't be long before we'll be talking about winter squash harvesting
Right.
into September. The sweet corn will continue right through frost.
Do you grow pumpkins?
We grow some pie pumpkins, but
Oh, yeah.
but
Good.
ornamental pumpkins are a very hard crop to grow organically.
Yeah.
There's too many diseases that can spoil them, and if somebody wants to buy a pumpkin and have on their stoop for a month, it needs to be a
Yeah. Right.
a
Well, the pie
conventionally grown-
pumpkins are good.
Yeah.
That's great. Great.
And a lot of the squashes we grow are the kind that are used really as or pumpkin substitutes in pies.
How has this rainy summer affected you?
It's been rough. It's almost, I've always said it's better to be dry if you have irrigation because you can add water to a crop. You can't take it away. And that has led to some disease issues in certain crops.
Right.
You know, more wet, more humid. Wet mornings like this. I was out picking this morning, and it's just soaking wet
Right.
from the dew, and that's when you start getting those August powdery mildews and things. But
Well, you seem to have controlled it very well.
we do what we can.
Great job.
Yeah, the tomatoes will be coming in real soon. Eggplants we have, and then they're hopefully a really good fall brassica crop of cauliflowers
Yeah.
and broccolis,
Right.
kales,
Yeah.
Brussels sprouts.
Speaking of eggplant, look at these beautiful, I mean, these are picture perfect.
Yeah, we grow a variety. You know,
Beautiful.
of course, most people want this type of
Yeah.
eggplant, but
Mhm.
this adds some variety to
Yeah,
not only
I
this
mean,
table,
these
but to
are-
their table as well.
So delicious looking. Peppers, cauliflower, beans, as I said before, Vermont maple syrup, fruit, olive oil, olives, bread, cheese, herbs.
Yeah.
What about GMOs? What can you tell us about that?
Well, you know, I'm following that debate pretty closely just because of my political interest in that topic. It's not something that concerns us directly because we're an organic farm.
Right.
Being certified organic by default means that we can't use GMO crops.
Right.
And the big fight is how are we going to maintain the genetics, the traditional genetics of hybridization and crossing or open pollination, preserve that for those people who want to maintain a diet of these traditional foods. Yeah, well, in the spring, after the winter and the CSA has come to an end in January, we get a month and a half to chill a little bit, order our seed material, and then we open our greenhouses up in late February, early March to start growing all the bedding plants that we sell. The 6-pack vegetable starts, which are all certified organic, and our flowers, annuals, perennials.
Right.
Then certain vegetables like onions need to be seeded right away, so they're seeded very early. Excuse me, and and then you time it so that hopefully the weather in May is going to be cooperative, and you've got that perfect-looking tomato or pepper plant ready for the customer to buy. It doesn't always work that way.
And people can come here and buy
Yeah,
packs of flowers and so forth.
Yeah, that's right. And we start, pansies start maybe 20th of April, but it isn't really, we'll get some diehard gardeners to come in by late April wanting their early brassicas and the frost hardy type things. And by Mother's Day, things really start kicking off around here. And
What more can you ask for? Come visit Clearbrook Farm. This is fabulous.
Yeah, hi, I'm Andrew Knaufel, and I started Clearbrook Farm in 1994, and I moved to the area from the Brattleboro area where I had been working on a farm for 7 or 8 years there from very experienced farmers who took me under their wing and taught me everything they knew. And then I started on my own and realized I didn't know very much, and that they had taught me everything that you can know verbally, but there's a lot of about farming that is more of an intuitive art in a sense than it is a science. And so I started in 1994 with Matt Patterson, an old college friend, came and helped and has been helping ever since. And we have grown from 1 acre with a roadside table and 1 greenhouse to many greenhouses, and we farm over 30 acres of about 30 acres of vegetables, and also 10 acres of cover crops and fallow and some grains and things like that. What sort of inspired me to farm, I think, was one, the love of being outside and working, doing physical work, which at the end of the day you can look down a row and see what you've accomplished in a day, and it's very gratifying on a personal level, but also sort of on a communal level. It's been very important for me that this farm is a major part of the community, both supplying food for people who live in the area, but also just as important, or in some ways more important, providing, I would say, meaningful year-round employment for a number of people, and seasonal employment for up to 20 folks on any given year. And that inspires a lot of the decision making that goes on here. Is, well, how best can the crew and the crew's needs be met while at the same time sustaining our farm and making a living, providing good quality food for people who live in the area. But really a lot of behind the scenes thought goes into how are we providing a good living for the folks who work here. And that's a really crucial part of what we do. Another thing is just the, as I was saying earlier, the love of being outside and the physical labor and watching a seed that, you know, is just this tiny thing turn into a sunflower or beans or okra or whatever it is we're growing. It's reminds you of the sort of the wonderment of just being alive every day. And I feel very fortunate, extremely fortunate, to be able to come out and help things grow and realize that we're really at the whim of Mother Nature more than we are at the whim of our own. I mean, our effort accounts, but I always say 75% luck, 25% knowledge, or maybe 85% luck and 15% knowledge. But really, farming is it's every day. It's, you know, you just have to kind of roll with the punches. But it's funny, most of the farmers I know, including myself, we're sort of perennial optimists. So even though you'll have a bad crop, we can't wait till next year. And whereas most people might think, boy, I'm really ready to be done, we think, I can't wait till next year, I'm going to do it differently. And I think that's a very important sort of lesson for us, for me in my life, but also just for, you know, it just reminds me that's what farming's sort of based on, is perennial optimism. Because you put that seed in the ground, and there's so many things to affect it and eat the plants and cause fungus and all this, and yet we end up, you know, half the time at least, hopefully, we end up with a nice crop of something, and we feel very lucky. And yeah, we do farm organically, and there's a number of reasons for that. One is just on a personal level. I don't want, as the person handling what would be the chemicals that we would farm, I don't want to be exposed personally to those chemicals, which can be quite toxic, that are used in conventional agriculture. And also, I don't want to expose my customers, and as a bird watcher and a lover of birds, I don't want to expose, and nature in general, just our environment. We have a lot of respect for the life around us, and we feel that, like in our fields surrounding our produce, we have grass strips and big fields, and there's a tremendous amount of bird life there and bug life. And we feel that organic farming is our small way of contributing to sort of trying to maintain a healthy ecosystem and bring back a healthy ecosystem. And if you think about how much of our land on a large scale is taken up with growing food, and how much of that is not organic, and how many chemicals are being used to grow all that food, that's a huge amount of land that is being exposed at some point during the course of a year to some toxic chemicals. And it can get into groundwater, it can get into the ecosystem in general, and we really feel a responsibility to trying to minimize that with organic chemicals, because we do use organic chemicals, because the organic chemicals tend to break down much faster, probably within 6 to 12 hours of being sprayed, and they are derived from natural elements that are already out in the environment, and so it's not completely foreign. And another aspect about organic farming that people don't always realize is how much work, extra work goes in, especially to weeding. Weed control is a huge part of our labor effort on this farm, is just keeping the weeds down. And herbicides make that easy, but they also can have a tendency to get into groundwater and weeds can build resistance, and then you're spraying more herbicide and other herbicides, and we really try and, we don't want to do that. So we do other things like cultivation and hoeing and hand weeding and cover cropping and fallow systems, so all our land isn't always in production. We're trying to get the weed seed load that's in the soil to germinate on off years when we're not farming vegetables on a certain piece of land, kill those weeds with cultivation, and hopefully reduce the number of weed seeds that are available when we start growing a crop on that piece of land. Well, I think really what makes us special, actually, one of the things that makes us special is we focus a lot on quality, but we also focus a lot on, I don't want to say marketing, but our farm stand, as you maybe have seen on, our farm stand, we work really hard on the aesthetics and of the food that we present or that we sell to people. So not only are we trying to grow a nice crop, we try and present a nice crop and product in the farm stand or at the farmer's market or when we have a CSA pickup, so that people eat with their eyes, and it's sort of an appealing experience, I think, to go into our farm, to go into the farm stand and see all this color and textures and smells, and I think people love to go just to come in for the experience, the visual experience. And my wife is an artist, does a different t-shirt every year, including this one, and hangs art on the walls when she has time to paint extra art, and all that helps with people sort of having a nice experience. And the help who works in the farm stand, we're all friendly at the farm, but we try and have really outgoing, friendly folks at the farm so people feel welcome. And all that, I think, is part of what makes us sort of unique, and it's what brings people back. So they have a good experience, and then both visually, and then when they get home and they eat it, hopefully it's good, and then the people they interact with here, we try to be friendly and helpful. What's fantastic about the Vermont agricultural community is that even though we're sort of competing with other organic farmers and other non-organic farmers up the road, 10 or 15 miles, there's a lot of camaraderie amongst the farmers, and people share ideas very freely. So there's a listserv where farmers will ask questions, and the neighbor next door who's kind of maybe trying to get the same clientele will say, oh, this is what we do to harvest our sweet potatoes, hopefully that helps you out. And we have an extension agent named Vern Grubinger, who's fantastic at being a networker of farmers and the collective farm knowledge that happens in Vermont. And really, Vermont is cutting edge organic farming right now. And part of that is because the lack of inhibition that farmers feel sharing knowledge with their competitors. Because I think everybody feels that having a marketplace, having a product throughout the state that's of good quality is good for everybody, and there really is a real effort to share knowledge. So, and I think that's where Vermont's special, is that that since I don't know if it's the hippie thing or what, but it's just this ability to to feel comfortable sharing information with other people. So I'd say our main, looking ahead into the next few years, one of the things that's been very successful for us has been our winter CSA, where we have that, once our farm stand closes, we have a CSA that goes until generally early to mid-January, where people have a weekly pickup of food. And one of the things we've needed to do is to ensure that we have greens all the way to January. So we grow a lot of vegetables without heat in our greenhouses all the way through till into January, but we don't have quite enough space for that. So we are putting up a new greenhouse in the next couple weeks that's going to be solely for in-ground vegetable production, mostly in the winter, but also tomatoes and eggplant and early warm season crops in the spring. So we will be heating it in the spring, but all of our winter production is really done without any supplemental heat. We grow the crops in the greenhouses, close the greenhouses down in a sense, and then put extra covers on. And the vegetables, once they're up to size, they just stay there through the winter. They don't grow anymore. We just have to kind of make sure they get a little ventilation, and So really our main focus on growth is just trying to secure product and produce for our winter CSA customers so that they're assured fresh greens every week until mid-January.
Welcome back. We are here from outer space, and we have come back to the GNAT kitchen, and we're going to now cook some of these beautiful vegetables that we have obtained from the farm. So today, as we said, we are going to have a guest chef with us today, and I would like to introduce to you Barbara Camolo from Camolo Antiques and Fine Wine in Manchester. Hello,
Thank you,
Barbara.
Gary. Thank you very much.
Good to have you here.
Glad to be here and glad to cook with you guys.
Good.
Teach you some new things.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to start today with a vegetable marinara. So the first thing I thought we would do, though, is talk about our stock. And what we have here is a vegetable stock. And the vegetable stock is comprised of all the scraps that we have cut from the vegetables that we're going to use today. Onions, carrots, broccoli,
Smells
stems,
wonderful.
cauliflower bottoms, leeks, and parts of the herbs.
And how long did it take?
And so this took approximately 15 to 20 minutes.
You're kidding me.
So
this
what
is
we did-
delicious smelling.
It is.
Oh,
and
fee.
you can see the wonderful
The
color
depth. Right.
that it has.
Yep.
And so instead of going out to the store and buying your stocks,
Right.
this is a very easy solution. It doesn't require any meat. And the one thing that I did put into it was just a touch of soy sauce, because I like soy sauce,
I do too.
and it's good.
It adds a little bit of salt, and I happen to be a salt
Yeah.
addict. But that sounds great because I'm going to need it later in my cooking.
Yeah.
So that sounds terrific.
So we'll be using this throughout the show today. All right,
Terrific.
so keep in mind that you can make a very nice vegetable stock with just the scraps of
Right.
the items that you buy.
Sounds good.
All right, so we're going to get started with our first dish, which will be a vegetable marinara, and we'll put that over a nice bed of pasta. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put a little olive oil in the pan, and it doesn't require a whole lot, just a touch, just a touch. And then we're going to add some onion and garlic. And that looks good. Very nice. And the garlic. And we're going to make sure that the onion and garlic become transparent before we add the tomatoes. So in the meanwhile, we'll add some mushrooms. We can throw all of those in, right? The mushrooms. And let's throw in some parsley and some fresh basil. And just to reiterate, all of these vegetables and herbs we've have gotten from the Clearbrook farm. We're going to cook this down just a tiny bit. And then, since this is going to be a vegetable marinara, we're going to add the some peppers, and
The zucchini?
we have in here, we have some yellow peppers, we have some zucchini, and some eggplant. Good. So the process here now is to just saute the vegetables a bit, and with the herbs, I know we're going to need a little bit of salt. Add just a touch. This is some sea salt.
Right.
And I don't know, you see anything else here we should add? Perhaps the olives? You want to throw
Little
a few?
black olive?
Yeah, olives would be great. Good.
There we go.
All right, so now we have all the veggies cooking. Now we want to add the diced tomatoes. We have some plum diced tomatoes that are fresh from the garden.
There we go.
So, this has a pretty nice color to it.
Looks lovely.
Gonna
Beautiful.
let these just saute a bit.
Beautiful.
And now, what we're going to do is we need a little liquid with this. So we're going to take our vegetable stock, add that. And we're going to let this come up to a boil. And then when it comes to a boil, we'll turn it down to a simmer. Okay, so now the ingredients have come to a boil, and then we're going to now finish it off with a little bit of wine that you brought.
I guess so. I should think so. You want a Nero d'Avolo, which is usually a light spiced red, but this one happens to be very, very hearty.
Good.
And it's go perfectly with this dish.
And in terms of cooking with wine, what are your suggestions?
You want to match the sauce. You don't want to match the fish or the meat or whatever. You want to match the sauce. So this one's got a lot of vegetables. It's got the broth. It's got the tomato paste. That's what you want to match, and the Nero d'Avolo will work perfectly with it. And whatever you cook with will also drink well with.
That's the key.
That's the key.
Cook with what you drink. All right, so we're going to now finish this sauce off with some tomato paste.
Here you go.
And the tomato paste acts as a couple of different things. It will first act as a little sweetener, and it will also act as a thickener. So we're going to just blend this in with the marinara. I'm going to add all of this in. And of course, the amount of paste that you use depends upon the amount of liquid you have. And this could be reduced a little bit more so that some of the liquid would evaporate. And let's just give this a little bit of test in terms of taste.
This looks lovely.
That's very good. And so we have some.
Works well.
We have some pasta that's been cooked previously, and we're going to just add this over.
Beautiful. What a pretty presentation.
And I can taste that wine in there. It's very nice.
Nero d'Avolo is perfect for it.
So there we go. And
Perfecto.
voila! We have a wonderful dish
Lovely dinner.
of vegetarian marinara pasta
Good job.
as our first dish. Now, we're going to move on to a dish that Barbara is going to cook, and she'll tell us all about it. Okay, so we are here now again with Barbara, and Barbara, you're going to cook a dish that you brought, and it's including some seafood. So why don't you tell us about what the details are about it?
What we're going to do is some scallops, some shrimp, some jalapenos, some olives, some celery, some oregano. We're really trying to work into the Greek tendency for food, and it's going to be absolutely lovely, and it's going to be very, very quick.
Good.
So what we're going to start with is some olive oil. Heat it up.
Olive oil, again, the first step.
Please put it in there, my dear.
Okay.
There we go. And then we're going to work on the onions.
Onions, okay, so these are minced.
Minced white onions.
Minced
I prefer
onions.
white onions. They have less of a bitter taste than yellow onions. White onions are, I prefer them.
Okay, and next?
Next will be the celery.
Celery.
Because that's the slowest thing to cook.
Right.
So you're going to do the celery next.
So the
quite a
celery
bit.
is cooked in a what you
It's
would call
going
chopped.
to do, yep, and we're also going to add the broth that Stephen made. Here we go. We want it to poach a little bit. So you're going to poach the liquid. There we
Okay.
go. Just a wee bit. And as that simmers down, we're going to add the garlic.
Garlic. And hail to the garlic.
Hail, it's so good for you. More garlic, the better.
Okay, and we're going to turn this up now just a little bit because we have that liquid in there, so we want it to get going, right?
Yep.
All right, so what's the next step?
The
here?
next step would be you want to go from the hardest vegetable to the softest thing. So the next thing would be the jalapenos.
Jalapenos. All
So we're
right.
going to add the jalapenos.
And so these are fresh jalapenos.
Fresh jalapenos sliced. I
Sliced.
prefer hot and spicy, so I do not seed. If you don't like the hot and spicy, then seed them. Take the seeds out, but they really are not that hot of a spice.
Okay, so the jalapenos are in, and we're reducing it a little bit. So
Yes,
what's
next I would like you to put the halved cherry tomatoes in.
Cherry tomatoes. And we're going to put...
Whatever you
Half a
think.
cup.
Whatever you think.
okay, whatever I think.
They need to reduce a wee bit. We're on a time schedule. You can always add the black olives next.
Okay, so we'll crank this up just a little bit to get the
May we?
tomatoes cooking. And then what
Black
was next?
olives
Black
or
olives.
mushrooms, whichever you
And/or-
prefer
okay.
next.
Well, the olives will sustain themselves.
Yep,
without any
there's
problem,
nothing's
right?
going to harm them.
And then the
And I love
quartered
mushrooms.
mushrooms, right?
Yes, I love mushrooms,
This is going
which would go great with the Pinot Noir, but I brought you something new to try tonight. So stir that all up, and then we're going to add our fish, and then we're good to go. It's the fastest dinner you've ever had in your life.
Okay, so
Turn it back up again.
turn it back up.
Add the
and-
shrimp first.
Add the shrimp. So we have a fair amount of shrimp here.
Yep, I add 1 pound of shrimp and a half pound of scallops.
Scallops.
Sometimes I do calamari, whatever's available. It's all inexpensive and it's all quick. It's the fastest dinner you've ever had.
And scallops go in. And do we want to add perhaps a little touch of salt?
Salt, red pepper flakes. I'm a little on the spicy side kind of a girl, so
Okay, that's
it's to each his own. I like it
And-
very spicy.
some salt again.
May we?
And now I see that we have some wine floating about here.
Yes,
Do you want
now we're
to-
going to add a little Torrontes to it, which is a,
Okay.
look at the fish is cooking so quickly, it's perfect.
So this
The
is a Torrontes, and why don't you tell us
Torrontes
about
is
that?
a little on the floral side. It's going to have a little orange blossoms, but in here, it's so slight, it's just reducing it just a wee bit, and it's just absolutely perfect. And just cook it a wee bit. Oh, it's heaven. Isn't it lovely?
It smells great.
Perfect, perfect, because you know it's going to cook as it's done. So go
We-
ahead and you can plate it.
We have a little bit of parsley here. Do you want to throw a touch of
I would like to put it on top after we're done.
afterwards? Okay, so we need to just let this
Just plate it a little bit, just let it cook,
cook down a little bit. Okay.
because shrimp will cook in less than a minute, scallops will cook in 40 seconds, calamari 40 seconds. You really do not need to
Right.
overcook your fish.
That's one of the mistakes that most people seem to make with shrimp and scallops is that...
And
as Barbara-
calamari.
Right, as Barbara
They
said.
overcook it all the time.
So...
And nobody will come to your house again. So there.
Okay, so we're going to now plate this up, and why don't you hold the plate and I'll put it on. So we're
Perfect.
going to just put a
It
little
looks
bit
beautiful.
on to the plate
Beautiful.
so that we can...
Crunchy celery, lovely olives, fish that's not overdone, and a dinner that takes about 2 minutes.
Yeah, this is really
What more
nice.
could you ask?
And so we're going to top this with a little bit
Oregano.
of fresh oregano.
Yep. Make it a little Greek.
Okay,
Perfectamundo.
so here we have Barbara Camolo's Greek-style shrimp and scallops with fresh vegetables from the Clearbrook Farm.
Perfectamundo.
And don't forget to drink the wine you cook with
May we?
and cook with the wine that you drink with.
Cheers.
Cheers. So we are back and we have changed spots. So Barbara, you're going to be assisting me in this dish.
I am pleased to do that.
And to follow the exploration of our cooking today in the ethnic area, we're going to be cooking an Asian broccoli. And to be more specific, a Szechuan style broccoli. So it will be a little bit spicy.
Where he has been.
Yes. So in my travels to China, I've experienced firsthand some extremely wonderful cooking experiences and some educational experiences in terms of cooking. So I've got a fairly good grip on things, I think.
Cook it away, Bucky.
Yes. So we're going to start with just talking about first a few ingredients that we use to make that experience of China cooking authentic. Of course, one of the first things that we always think about using is soy sauce, a very good quality soy sauce.
Right.
For this dish, I'm going to use what we call oyster sauce.
Right, of course.
And a wonderful quality of sesame oil. The first thing we're going to do is add a little oil to the pan, and then we're going to add garlic.
You want the garlic
Throw
first?
all the garlic in,
All the garlic, all right.
and then
There you go.
then the
Half the
onion,
onions.
half of the onion.
There we go.
And on this other dish we have diced peppers,
All?
julienne carrots, julienne ginger. So let's throw it all in.
All right, I'll do what you say.
All right. One of the interesting ingredients in Szechuan cooking, besides pepper, is what they call fermented black beans.
Very different. Very
And
different.
it's a flavor that gives the dishes a real pungency, a real bite to it, and a wonderful flavor. So we're going to throw these black beans into the dish and toss this around.
What
And
can
of
I
course,
help
as you
with?
see, we're cooking on a wok, which is the, of course, traditional utensil in China. All right, so now we have some shiitake mushrooms we're going to throw in. And the shiitake mushrooms are fresh from Clearbrook Farm, and we're leaving these whole. Now,
Always take the stem off.
always take the stem off. And talking about stems, we did throw the stems of the mushrooms into
Yep.
the stock earlier.
Into the stock, right.
Shiitake mushrooms really create a very intense flavor. All right, so now, as you can see, we are what would they call stir frying. And we're going to now add in our broccoli florets.
Here we go.
Okay. And why don't you stir that around, Barbara?
You bet.
In Szechuan cooking, the beginning stages of the process is a dry cooking. We keep that going, and then we're going to add a little bit of our stock. And this then becomes a combined process of stir fry and steaming in a way, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So here we go with our stock. So we have the stock in.
Yeah.
And at this point, then this is when we want to add our soy sauce. Because
Okay.
if you add the soy sauce previous to other liquid, the soy sauce has a tendency to become bitter.
Now, I see you're not buying regular grocery store soy sauce.
No, this is a very
Where'd
good.
you get it?
Yeah, this is a very good quality soy sauce. I go to a store in Colony, New York,
Uh-huh.
and authentic Asian market, and
Right.
it has just wonderful
Getting real
ingredients.
food. Right.
Real
right,
Asian
right,
food,
right,
right.
right, right.
Now, we're going to add 2 more items to this. As we mentioned earlier, we have oyster sauce.
Uh-huh.
Oyster sauce is a ingredient that is a little sweet.
Right, it is.
And so it just rounds off the flavor of the ginger and the garlic. And you don't need to add a whole lot, but it adds a very nice savory touch to things.
Do you think it adds a little umami? That wonderful, that extra flavor that
Yes.
rounds
Yeah, right.
things off. Umami is the 6th or the 5th flavor
That's right.
that really rounds out things, and oyster sauce does that.
Yeah. Once things come to almost a heated point, we're going to add a little touch of sesame sauce,
Which is my
sesame
favorite.
oil. Excuse me.
Now, are you using the hot or
No,
the...
this is just
Okay.
just plain. It's good quality, and when you look for sesame oil in the store, make sure that it has a very dark color. There are sesame oils that they sell that are almost transparent, like vegetable oils, but those don't have the
Right.
flavor you need.
Wish you could smell it. Lovely.
Okay, and so now, once this comes to close to a boil, we're going to add a tiny, tiny bit of cornstarch, just to
A little thicken
bind
it.
things up a
Right,
little bit.
right, right.
Okay, so now cornstarch, of course, is first added with water to a paste, if you would say, and then we're going to add this just to give it that thickness and the what you would call the glaze look that
Right.
comes with
Beautiful.
Asian food. So let's just bring that up to temperature.
Okay, I'm going to let you take over, Maestro,
Okay.
and
So-
do the temperature the way you like. What do you think? High?
Well, we want to get this to a point where it is actually percolating.
Percolating. Okay, okay, I like that.
Okay, so Barbara, as you can see, we've come to a temperature where the cornstarch has thickened it just right.
It's a beautiful bevy of
It
vegetables.
is, yes. And
It's
so why don't you
gorgeous.
hold this and I'll plate
You
it
bet.
up for us.
You bet.
So we have those shiitake mushrooms that look really great.
Which are my favorite.
The broccoli, and you can see the color with the carrots.
Lovely. It is gorgeous.
All right, very nice. And so we have a nice Szechuan style broccoli. And in terms of drinking wine, in China, they serve actually red wine. They call
Right.
it red wine alcohol called putagio. And so eating Chinese food, red wine, is actually very common.
It is. It would go well with this because it's a dark sauce. And so you're going to want a dark wine. Nero d'Avolo is normally not so heavy, but this particular one has a little bit more depth. And it's going to go perfectly with the vegetables, the sesame sauce, the soy sauce. It's a beautiful blend.
Yeah.
I think you'll like it.
So let's see if we can call Stephen to join us and have a little taste of the broccoli and some wine.
Is he the wine aficionado?
He is the aficionado of daydream cooking.
I can hear him giggling in the background.
So I
Stephen,
hear you're going to be drinking some wine.
you bet. And my wine at that.
You guys did a great job. It's fun to have you all together. And
Thank you.
We've got to thank you, Barbara, for coming today.
My pleasure.
Bringing this delicious wine. We have to thank everybody at Clear Brook Farm.
You bet.
And we have to thank the people at home. So
let's
what are we drinking here
let's
now,
have a
Barbara?
toast.
We're having a Nero d'Avolo from Italy that's going to
Okay.
go perfectly with the Italian,
Well,
with the, actually with the Chinese
Yeah.
wine. Believe it or
and
not.
what's the toast in China?
The toast is always drink up, and a good wife.
So, thank you for watching from Danger Men Cooking, and until next time,
Here's to you.
Here's to you, and,
And
keep
keep
on
on
cooking.
Keep on cooking.
And that's a wrap.
yeah,
Okay.
But it is here's to you,
that's nice.
isn't it?
Boom boom ba-da-dum, 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 boom boom ba-da-dum.
They snuck into the kitchen when no one was looking.
Look out, Mama, it's Danger Man cooking.